Hello and welcome to this VeeamON breakout session on Veeam Data Cloud, an overview and customer story. My name is Russ Kirscher, Senior Director of Product Marketing, and I'm excited to be with you today. So a quick look at the agenda. We're first going to kick it off and talk a little bit about why you should use a backup service. Then we're going to give you an overview of Veeam Data Cloud and finish off today's discussion with a customer story. So let's start off with why use a backup service. And I'll give you 8 specific benefits that are aligned with using a backup service. The first one is it's simple. We know today IT teams are very busy. A backup service actually lightens the load on an IT team and makes it simpler for them. The second is setup is quick and easy. You can simply log into a backup service, get your backup jobs running without having to build and maintain an architecture. Third is time and money saved. It's important that teams are constantly asked to do more with less. And a backup service allows not only money saved from being able to bundle a product together, but also time saved spent maintaining and keeping up with a backup architecture. And also it's all inclusive. So we have packaged our backup service in a way where you get the backup infrastructure, you get the backup software, and also unlimited storage, all packaged into one solution for you. A few more differentiators. I like to joke that there's really not just 2 guarantees in life, but there's 3 guarantees in life: death, taxes, and data growth. So we all know data continues to explode, but from a backup service perspective with Veeam, you don't have to worry about that because you get unlimited storage within your backup service. Also, you got to think about the maintenance and security aspects that come into play with backup software. From a traditional perspective, you're responsible for all of that. Think about the days of having to patch an Exchange server and how great it was when you didn't have to do that anymore. Well, you shouldn't have to patch backup software either. With the backup service, the infrastructure will be managed by the backup service, and they will go ahead and do updates and patches on your behalf. Also, you got to keep in mind compliance and governance. A backup service adheres to very strict and important compliance and policy standards, so you can ensure that it is covered on your behalf. And lastly, it's very important that a backup service is targeted and tailored specifically for the type of data that you need to protect, because all SaaS applications are very different. And you can have confidence that a backup service from Veeam is custom built specifically for the data you're protecting. In this example, Microsoft 365. So also just wanted to take a minute and share some data with you on how preferences have been shifting from backup services to backup software. You can see in this chart on screen here that just a few years ago, the overwhelming preference was to have on-premise backup software managed inside a data center. And then in 2022, everything started to shift towards backup services. And we expect this trend to continue. Now at Veeam, we give you the ability to protect your data your way. You have data freedom from the perspective of if you want to build and maintain an on-premise infrastructure for your data, you can. If you want to leverage a backup service, you have that opportunity. And you can also outsource that capability to one of our Veeam Cloud and service providers. So whatever your preference is, we have options to fit your needs. But what we are seeing in the market is an overwhelming shift towards backup as a service, or essentially using a backup service to protect your data. The beauty of a backup service is all of those things are covered for you that I talked about earlier in this presentation, but you still maintain control and access of your data. You're running the backup jobs, you're doing the restores, so it ultimately is the best of both worlds. Now let's shift gears, and I just want to introduce you to Veeam Data Cloud. So Veeam Data Cloud is resilient data protection made easy. Veeam Data Cloud is custom built around data sets for Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Azure, giving you customized backup and restore capabilities for those unique workloads. The beauty of a backup service from Veeam is you have that confidence, that reliability, in a trusted name of Veeam, but also without the complexity of having to build and maintain an infrastructure. We already have a secure architecture that is scalable and enterprise grade, built into the backup service and available for you to use. And also, everything is all-inclusive and pricing is predictable as you use the backup service. So inside Veeam Data Cloud, I want to take a few minutes and talk specifically about the product which we have called Veeam Data Cloud for Microsoft 365. This is the same trusted and industry-leading technology that over 30,000 customers and over 20 million users are protected with the product Veeam Backup for Microsoft 365. What we did was essentially build a backup service on top of this industry-leading technology for you to use from a BaaS perspective. The interface is easy to access, secure, and intuitive. You simply log into the website address and you can get going creating backup jobs and doing restores. You no longer have to download any software and you no longer have to build the infrastructure. And as I've already talked about, everything is included in one package. You get the backup software, the backup infrastructure, and unlimited storage from Veeam with Veeam Data Cloud for Microsoft 365. Let's uncover some of the other capabilities that come within Veeam Data Cloud. First, you get that intuitive point-and-click user interface where you're able to understand what's going on inside your environments and do any day-to-day tasks that you need to do from a backup and restore perspective. You also get simple fixed pricing and billing, so you understand what your pricing is going to be each month and have an overview of how your costs are affecting your overall environment. Built within Veeam Data Cloud, you have a clear exit strategy. We're not holding your data hostage, and you're able to do whatever you want with your data and take it with you if you decide to go. There are also extended role-based access controls built within the product, so you can set up certain roles and responsibilities for different types of users and make sure they only have the access that you want them to have. We also have simple automated license management using AD groups that you can take advantage of, e-discovery capabilities that you will be able to have confidence that you can go into your documentation, find exactly what you're looking for, and restore an individual email or a certain file out of SharePoint or even out of Teams. As I've talked about before, we have dynamic billing set up so you can have a full understanding of your pricing and licensing. And we also have specific network settings capabilities that can actually restrict access inside of the VDC portal so you can understand exactly who and when has access to your systems. As we unpack Veeam Data Cloud a little bit more, you can see that the balance on the left side of the screen of what will be taken care of for you inside of the backup service, and the right side of the screen where you have standard capabilities that come out of the box, as well as deeper capabilities that you can customize, your retention settings, you can set up certain things and leverage certain capabilities that are optional to you if you want to go a little deeper with the software. On the left side of the screen, you can see many of the major components that are taken care of that you don't need to set up and maintain. For example, you don't need to set up that backup infrastructure. A lot of the operational responsibilities, the maintenance, the networking, the infrastructure, that is taken care of by the backup service. So you no longer have to worry about those things. And updates and patches and future upgrades are, again, not something that you have to worry about. They will be automatically rolled out into the product for you, and you can simply log in and take advantage of new capabilities that come into the system. Once you log into the user interface, you'll simply be able to create backup jobs, connect it to your Microsoft 365 tenant, and recover data quickly and easily within the graphical interface. I also want to take a few minutes and talk about Veeam Data Cloud for Microsoft Azure. This is also a capability inside Veeam Data Cloud. When you think about this product, think of it as being on Azure, for Azure, and by Veeam. We see a lot of customers getting a quick return on investment with this product because they're able to remove blockers like implementation and patching and remediating misconfigurations within the system, because all of that is covered by the backup service. This technology is enterprise ready because you can specifically leverage best practices already built for the Azure well-architected framework and built on all of those best practices for you to take advantage of. And along with every Veeam product, you can have confidence in your ability to recover exactly what you need out of Azure and put it back in Azure to make sure everything is exactly the way it should be. When you talk about a backup service, it is critically important that you spend a little extra time talking about security. And we have a lot of confidence in the security and protocols that we've built into this backup service for you to take advantage of. First, Veeam holds numerous global security certifications that we have battle tested our backup service against. Also, you have the opportunity to set your data inside of the backup service in the storage account region of your choice. So you have the capability of choosing where your data is stored. You can also have the confidence that your data is encrypted, not only in transit, but also at rest within the backup service. We also do regular penetration testing through a third party within our systems to make sure that it is secure. We also leverage multi-factor authentication within the system as an added layer of security. And something that's important to keep in mind is that the Veeam support team cannot access your data without your explicit authorization for them to help you with support issues. Now let's segue and take a little time talking about McGrath, a customer based out of Australia, and how they have had success using Veeam Data Cloud. First of all, if you aren't familiar with McGrath, they are one of Australia's most successful residential and real estate groups. In fact, you can see on screen here Darren Werner. He's the head of technology at McGrath, and he's been a long-time Veeam customer that's leveraged Veeam technologies. In fact, Darren actually presented at our very first VeeamON almost 10 years ago, and we're excited to have Darren back with us this year. If you aren't familiar with Australia, this is the capital of Australia in the picture, Sydney, Australia. You can see the Sydney Harbour and the Sydney Opera House here in view. And we're really excited to have Darren join us at our in-person VeeamON in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. To get a little bit of an understanding of the story of McGrath, I think it's important that you first get an understanding of their environment. So they have a large data center and lots of other components with their environment, but today we're going to focus specifically on their Microsoft 365 environment and their Azure environment. So you can see on screen, McGrath has a large number of Microsoft 365 users, just over 11,000 users, and you can see that they are extensive users of Exchange Online and OneDrive for Business with over 100 terabytes combined data within those two Microsoft services. And you can also see they're extensive users of SharePoint and Teams with a lot of activity going on in different channels and different groups. You can also see that they've migrated many of their virtual machines to the cloud, and they're currently running 15 Azure virtual machines as well. So now I want to walk you through a timeline of McGrath's story and really their experience using Veeam Data Cloud. As I said, McGrath's had over a 10-year span experience with Veeam, but we're going to pick up their story as it pertains to their Microsoft 365 environment. So in 2021, they were in the process of going through a migration, like many of you have, from on-prem Exchange to Exchange Online. They leveraged a third party to do this migration, and in all honesty, what Darren shared with us is they weren't really that involved in the migration. They trusted the third party to take care of it for them. And what the third party was focused on was simply migrating their data, not how to protect their data afterwards. And they lacked a lot of confidence in their ability to recover their data once they moved to Exchange Online. As they were moving through this migration, then it really led the business to start to think through, okay, well, what do we do with other parts of the workloads in our organization? And they decided that it was a good point in time for their business to start to migrate as many other workloads as possible to the cloud and get away from their aging infrastructure and difficulty managing many remote servers. In 2022, they continued their process of trying to identify a backup solution that could help them in the current stage of their environment. They were also starting to adopt new backups or new services inside of Microsoft 365, for example, Teams, OneDrive for Business, SharePoint Online, and they were also trying to understand what to do with some of their physical servers and some of their data center VMs, and wanted to move those to Azure as well. In late 2022 is when they first started with Veeam Data Cloud for Microsoft 365. They were able to onboard very quickly, got configured in as little as 15 minutes, and had their entire Microsoft 365 backup jobs seeded into their backup environment in under the first week. And also, I just want to pause and highlight here the unprotected gap that Darren's environment had. He sat between 2021 and late 2022 with especially his Exchange data and any new data landing in SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive for Business, completely unprotected. We talked to a lot of customers that are using Microsoft 365 or have migrated to Microsoft 365, and they have this unprotected gap. It is highly recommended that as customers move to these environments, they instantly ensure that that data is protected, but it is very common to have an unprotected gap, but you must be very careful that you close this gap as quickly as possible if that's the scenario that you're in today. So let's fast forward to early 2023. This is when they started to migrate some of their VMs and physical servers to the cloud, and what Darren did was he automatically added Veeam Data Cloud for Microsoft Azure on top of these newly migrated servers that landed in Azure. And that is a great use case of how to migrate and ensure the backup happens right away. On screen here, you see this marked as a certain place in time, but obviously data capacity happens every day. It expands on a continuous basis. But it's just a highlight as their business shifted, as their business grew, they saw tremendous increases in the data that was living inside of Microsoft 365 and as a part of their Azure environments as well. So fast forward to today, Darren is having a great experience with Veeam Data Cloud. His data technology and his backup service is really setting his business up for success. They passed their most recent audit, and in fact, they can proactively build reports and show backup success rates and show the restores and audit logs, storage capacity, all of this content they're able to take out of Veeam Data Cloud and service this up for future audit reports and make all of that easy. And the major thing about the McGrath success story is they were actually able to cut and decrease their data protection expenses by 50%. For Darren, this was a savings of over $100,000 by moving to Veeam Data Cloud and using and bundling a backup software, the backup infrastructure, and unlimited storage that comes in the package of Veeam Data Cloud within their environment. So I want to thank you so much for watching this presentation today and learning more about Veeam Data Cloud. Later on in VeeamON, there will be deeper dive sessions and actually demos of Veeam Data Cloud. So if you're interested, please take a look at those. Also, if you like the content at the beginning of the presentation that talked about the 8 benefits of using a backup service, we have a white paper on our website that covers those in extensive detail. Feel free to go to veeam.com, download that, share it with someone else inside your organization, and hope you have a great day.